In the heart of the Imperial Valley lies a lake that was once a tourist paradise, now a symbol of ecological catastrophe. But what is the real story behind the Salton Sea?
Originally, the Salton Sea was formed when an irrigation canal busted open, and they couldn't stop it. They tried for over a year to stop it, and so finally they gave up. And then what sustained, though, the Salton Sea was agricultural runoff. The farmers, when water was plentiful and cheap, they would flood their entire field. Some of the water would soak in, and the rest would run off into the Salton Sea. You know, over the last several decades, as water became more precious and more expensive, and we've gone through several droughts, they started coming up with more efficient ways to water their crops. One of the side effects of that, though, it meant a lot less water going into the Salton Sea. And so this is a result now.
During the 1950s and 1960s, the lake became a popular tourist destination known as the California Riviera. Celebrities such as Frank Sinatra used to visit this oasis.
Back in the heyday, when I came here in '74, there was 5 bars in this town, hacked out every weekend. People, this whole from the marina to the highway was lined up with boats for people wanting to go fishing from everywhere. Mainly LA, Orange County, they all come here because it's such a beautiful area. You have this big sea. You could just put your boat in, go catch corvina, huge corvina.
There were at one time 4 marinas in town, apparently 7 bars. And, you know, people all the time were going fishing and water skiing.
But that image has vanished. Today, the water evaporates, contamination spreads, and toxic dust threatens nearby communities. However, not everyone sees it the same way.
The main problem that the Salton Sea has is the lack of natural resources, right? So the lack of water. At times there's a lack of funding, and then, you know, really a lack of access because the state is not a landowner of the Salton Sea. And so we have to get access agreements with all the various landowners, which includes the federal government and Imperial Irrigation District. And then also there's an environmental permitting aspect to it, which makes it very complex. And you have a lot of stakeholders. So even though Department of Water Resources is the state agency that does the planning and designing and implementation of projects, we still have to go through the various regulatory agencies, you know, whether it's state, federal, local, and then engage with other stakeholders as well. So it's really a big collaboration project, and when you have that many agencies and that many stakeholders involved, it makes it, you know, a very complex issue.
The shrinking of the lake not only affects the landscape, but also has severe consequences for the environment and the health of nearby communities.
Principalmente, el lago se está encogiendo, hay menos flujo de agua llegando a la laguna por diferentes factores, y eso contribuye a que el sedimento o lo que se queda en la parte del perímetro del lago pueda tener un impacto a la calidad del aire de la región. Se sabe que el Valle Imperial es una región afectada por diferentes fuentes de contaminación o fuentes que contribuyen a la mala calidad del aire. Y el Salton Sea, pues, es una más de ellas, ¿no? Entonces, con este lago o este lecho que se está exponiendo cada vez que la laguna se sigue encogiendo, pues tiene el potencial de convertirse en esas partículas del aire que llegan a la comunidad y pudieran generar un impacto a la salud pública. También el impacto que tiene al ambiente en cuanto a a las especies que visitan, a las aves, a los peces que visitan o que viven en este lago, y que son también parte de la región.
The lake is going to continue to dry up. I mean, when I came here originally in 2008, the water went back that ways quite a ways, and now it's gone down significantly. Even in the last few weeks, the water's gone down about a foot.
They did a water transfer back in the 80s. They sold the water to LA and San Diego, which means we didn't get the runoff, so the sea is receding. This could be the best recreation in California if they bring the water back. And if they bring the water back, it ends all the problems. But it's just money is the driver. Federal government and the state gives millions of dollars to help restore the sea. They've done nothing to restore the sea. It's all Band-Aid projects.
On opposite sides of the Salton Sea, two communities live with the same lake. But their experiences and perceptions couldn't be more different.
Cada residente de la región, o principalmente los residentes que viven cerca de la laguna, pues tienen su experiencia personal y su historia, ¿no?, con la laguna. Algunos tendrán una opinión a favor, algunos en contra. Personalmente, pues es un sitio que sigue siendo hermoso, con atardeceres y con vistas muy, muy impactantes. Pero creo que la diferencia de opinión pues reside en la experiencia o en la vida que han tenido con la laguna y lo que también han escuchado, ¿no? Lo que se escucha públicamente en cuanto a los contaminantes o la condición del agua de la laguna. También cuando se cree que la laguna no es un lugar que te da una buena bienvenida, ya sea por el olor o sea por la vista que tiene la laguna, pues ya eso cambia la perspectiva de cada uno de los residentes.
While some fight to save the lake, others question the official narrative about health and the environment in the region.
There's nothing wrong with that water. We used to swim in that water all the time, but because it's so receded so far, you have to track way, way out there now to get in any kind of depth of water.
Yeah, I've been in the Salton Sea water plenty of times. Obviously I'm still alive. I'm not sick or anything. From what I've heard, you just want to avoid the Salton Sea. I heard this from the park ranger at the Salton Sea State Rec area. The only times you want to avoid it is when there's what's called a harmful algae bloom. And it's the same thing in any other lake if there's a harmful algae bloom, or even sometimes the ocean. It's a specific kind, there's certain kinds of algae that are harmful. And out here, they really thrive in the heat and all that. Not so much now when there's a breeze. But yeah, it's generally safe to swim in. You'll just want to rinse off afterwards because it's really salty. You'll have a salty crust on you. But
This sea receding is hurting all of us, and it's hurting nature.
For some, the solution is simple. For others, the crisis has no turning back.
Pues yo vine aquí en los años del 90-91. El agua estaba clara en ese tiempo, pues estamos hablando ya de hace 30 años, 34 años. Tiene muchos años que yo sé que el agua no es buena para ninguna familia por la contaminación. Está muy tóxica el agua. Han descargado muchos como fierros, materiales, muchos químicos. como la laguna tiene para muchos miles de litros de agua, entonces está bastante grande. Pero lo que sí sabemos ahorita actualmente que nadie se tiene que bañar en la laguna, porque es un riesgo, es un peligro. Hace años para atrás la laguna tenía mucho pescado y pues los pescados estaban en la orilla muertos, salían muertos, despedazados, desgarrados. Entonces pues desde ahí, si los animales que están dentro del agua les provoca eso, nosotros como humanos, como personas, pues, ¿qué nos puede hacer en la piel? Todas las pieles de las personas son diferentes. Algunos son resistentes, algunos son débiles y pues mejor para no arriesgar no hay que meternos. A veces uno ignora que hay dinero que regala el gobierno, pero como nosotros a veces no sabemos, pues no sabemos si lo utilizan bien en lo que deben de hacer, en las promesas que hay o no. Yo creo que tenemos 20 años escuchando que van a limpiar la laguna y que van a venir proyectos que quieren limpiarla. Pero pues le estoy hablando que ahorita hace ya de 20 años, ¿verdad? Si es necesario que nosotros ayudemos a limpiar, porque pues en la comunidad aquí estamos, vivimos aquí.
Despite the crisis, efforts are being made to mitigate the environmental impact.
So right now we are at the southern end of the Salton Sea. We're at the Species Conservation Habitat Project. Behind me you'll see our diversion dam, and so it's actually pulling in new river water. And so we really call this the heartbeat of our project. And so if you see on a map, this is kind of pretty much the center, and it's where the water comes in and then will flow out through the various ponds throughout the project site. And so our goal is to not, obviously, it's not realistic for saying our projects are going to take away all the dust or clean the air, but we're trying not to contribute to the problem as well.
Esos proyectos los denominamos proyectos para la mejora de vegetación. Como fase inicial trajimos estos vacas de zacate, y eso es como una fase inicial para funcionar como una barrera protectora al viento principalmente. Es una pared que detiene todo el polvo que se va levantando de estos sitios y permiten que la tierra se quede dentro de esta área sin volar hacia otra parte. Estos proyectos se encuentran dos cerca de la ciudad de Salton City y una en la ciudad de Bombay Beach. Como segunda fase de estos proyectos, pues es traer vegetación, ya sean plantas o sean semillas de plantas nativas, plantas que son endémicas de estas áreas, para poder sobrevivir en las situaciones actuales con poca agua, con condiciones en el suelo con alta salinidad, con tal vez pocos nutrientes. Y estas plantas pues es la segunda fase después de traer las pacas de zacate, para que empiecen a crecer y crear vegetación, que empiece a haber pues ahora una barrera verde protegiendo el suelo y las posibles emisiones del suelo. La laguna va a seguir disminuyendo en tamaño. Se esperan mayores reducciones al flujo del agua que llega a la laguna. También con eso pues se espera que nuestros proyectos puedan seguir avanzando. Se tiene como objetivo cubrir 30,000 acres alrededor de la laguna. Entonces en los próximos 10 años se espera o estamos comprometidos a que se cumplan esos proyectos, y también empezar a tener o trabajar una visión a largo plazo de la laguna para poder mitigar o poder ayudar a esos posibles impactos de la laguna que seguirá pues haciéndose más pequeña.
It'll be several decades before the salt sea is completely gone, but, probably, 5 or 10 more years, this is probably going to go back, I'd say within 10 years, it might go back a quarter mile or so, maybe 10 or 15 years. It's going to take a long time, probably not in our lifetime will the Salton Sea completely dry up. But what's now the shoreline is going to be drastically different in 5 years, let alone 10 years. Well, the residue is safe this is quite interesting, it's safe to swim in the water because that all drops to the bottom. But when the lake dries up, like this was all underwater up to about 2011, you got pesticide residue in here. Some of even going back decades, DDT and arsenic and selenium. The wind picks that up, and if you don't have really healthy lungs, that can cause asthma and other issues. The artist started showing up here, I want to say about 8 to 10 years ago, and found, that it was like the perfect place to start putting their art up. But also, most of the artists, their intention also was to not just show off their art, but to bring attention to the area, bring attention to the fact that the Salton Sea is dying. Even if it weren't for the artists, this is a very resilient community, and Bombay Beach would still have found a way to start recovering. Even, I mean, the artists have definitely helped, but it's also just a very strong community, period. There's a swing set over there that was originally in the water, and of course now it's dried up, but the artists have decided they're going to leave it on the land because they want to bring more attention to the fact that the Salton Sea is drying up.
But is it enough, or are we just delaying the inevitable? For some, the Salton Sea remains a symbol of beauty and strength. For others, it is an ecological catastrophe that we have yet to fully understand.
So in the next 10, 20 years, we're going to have a more smaller but more sustainable Salton Sea. So over the years, as time moves on, the Salton Sea won't be receding, the shoreline won't be receding as much anyways, and it's going to hit that point of equilibrium. So that's really going to tell us, we're going to have a time where the exposed playas really stabilize. In that time frame, you see the water board order that requires 30,000 acres of habitat and dust suppression projects. And I'm very confident that the state will meet those milestones by then. But then also we have the long-term planning. And so the SCH project is really kind of like the first big project that we have, and so we're going to learn a lot from here. We're going to do a whole lot of adaptive management on our side, and so we're going to figure out what works, what didn't work, and take everything that we've learned from these projects and expand them to different areas around the sea.
Save the Salton Sea. It will be so beneficial to everyone. All of this valley, you bring the water back, it takes care of all the problems. We never had problems when we had the sea here. We didn't have all this dust mitigation stuff going on. People came here, they enjoyed the area. It's like people come and live in Palm Springs. Why do they come and live in Palm Springs? It's a beautiful area. They need to save the sea. Don't let it die.
Can the lake be saved? Do the ongoing restoration projects make a difference? Or are we witnessing its inevitable disappearance? For those who live here, does the answer depend on which side of the lake you stand on?